Todd. Todd. Yummy. Good boy. Good boy. So this is our Christmas cracker pole exercise. As you can see, it's designed in the shape of a Christmas cracker. You can also make it slightly longer if you've got a bigger school. We've only got a 20 by 40. So we've got 4 poles in the middle. You make a box and then make a triangle either side with another 2 poles. Off of that, at the point, make another triangle with another 2 poles either end, and then 1 pole on either end. So in total for this pole exercise, we used 14 poles. You could also make this square in the middle. You could make that more of a rectangle, so you could use another 2 poles to make it a little bit longer, but we've only got 20 by 40, so it'd be quite tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you, I rode through the exercise on Maximus and Zeb, so you can see 2 different levels of horses riding through the exercise. And actually Zebedee, although he's more advanced, isn't anywhere near as good at poles as Maximus. I did a few different things with Zeb that was slightly more tricky, and I'll show you all the different types of things you can do with the poles. First up we have Maximus, and firstly in this video you can see you can ride a serpentine over the points of the 2 triangles either end, working on suppleness. You can then also ride straight up the centre line, trying to make sure you keep them straight. They trot over the cross of the triangles and not go either side of the poles. Zeb actually really struggled with this. The first few times he just couldn't figure out his feet. He wanted to canter, he wanted to jump it. He went kind of left, right. So we had to do it quite a few times for him to get the hang of it. You can also use the poles in canter as well as trot. So here you can just see Zebedee cantering on a circle, cantering over the point of the 2 triangles, focusing on keeping the same rhythm to the poles, almost imagining like the poles aren't there, and trying to keep them straight over the point of the cross. A slightly more advanced movement you can do, you can also then canter over the same point but then do a flying change over the poles. Poles is actually quite a good way of teaching a horse to do a flying change. Poles are also great for lunging. We lunged Rosie, so there's lots of different things you can do when lunging. You can either go at one end, so you only go over one end. You can stand in the middle, like you can see with Scott here. This is also Scott's first ever time of lunging, so I think he did a pretty good job, and Rosie was a very good girl for him. So before we canter just over the point of the triangles, you can also then canter through the square of the poles, which is slightly more difficult. You have to just focus on, again, keeping the rhythm and trying not to worry too much about where they're going to take off. And if they end up going to trot, just re-ask for the canter and come back round, because then they'll start to learn to adjust their stride for themselves. You can then change direction and do a flying change. This is more difficult than just cantering over the cross to do a flying change. So if your horse doesn't know how to do a flying change, I would suggest doing the other one first. You can also then trot up the centre line, but instead of just trotting the entire way up the Christmas cracker, you can then come out across the diagonal over the point of the square, which actually I thought was going to be a lot easier than it was. It's actually quite difficult to make sure you turn in time, so it's a really good exercise to do for rideability, to make sure the horse is always concentrating on you and what you're asking them to do. So here we have Maximus going completely down the centre line, and actually you can see here he's not quite straight. The first part really nicely. At the second point of the triangle, he stepped just outside of the triangle, so he's not actually quite straight. You can also then canter a circle in the middle of the school, going over each point point of the triangle. It is quite a small circle and was a lot tighter than I anticipated. It's quite good to try and keep them balanced on the circle, keeping the same rhythm and not losing their shoulder around the corners. Once I had done my 30-minute session, I then let the horses have a stretch and then trotted the poles and did various different exercises using the poles, but letting them stretch down, which is quite good to finish your session. Thank you very much for watching our pole work exercise. We hope you liked it and hope it's helped and given you some ideas. I'm sure there's probably even more things you can do with the pole work exercise. We do have to say a thank you to Sarah, one of our liveries, the owner of Daisy, who Dad rides. She actually helped me a lot. She helped me set the exercise up, and she was the one who helped me with where to go and what sort of different lines I could do. So thank you, Sarah, and hope you like it. Please share, like and subscribe.